Hey guys, so please subscribe to my channel and click the like button. So today I'm going to be analyzing a game that I played with an opponent using the white piece, and I made a whole lot of mistakes, but my opponent did a lot of blunder that eventually was so costly. So I started um with a pawn push. My opponent responded. I pushed the pawn. I'm just trying out something new, but apparently it's very wrong. Please don't play this way. I was just trying to experiment. It's a very, very wrong way to play. You have to develop your pieces first before you push pawn. This is overcommitting the pawn. So a lone pawn without support is not a good way to play. Well, this was another wrong mistake I made. I overlooked the queen move from my opponent, which was what was played. At this point, I have to lose material. It's either I was going to give out, I was either going to give up the rook or get checkmated. So I decided to just give up the rook and see if I could trap the queen. So I kept on playing. Um, I had to stop the check and I kept on playing. So now the truth is, the pawn move that I pushed right on the H file does I think it's a H6. I knew that eventually at the long run, if my opponent doesn't do anything about that pawn, it was going to be a problem. When a pawn gets to that point, or the H file at the sixth rank, if it gets to that point anywhere, if you're using white to black, it's always a problem. It's usually a problem for your king because your king will not have that hiding square, and I also have the dark square bishop, so that diagonal is going to be always a threat. There will always be a threat on that diagonal, on the dark square diagonal for my bishop. So that was why, hence, I pushed the pawn up there to put so much pressure on my opponent and see what he will come up with. Remember, I'm down a rook. I'm down a rook, so I have to attack. If you can see the material difference, my opponent is on +6 because he has a rook, a knight, and a pawn. I only have a bishop, the dark square bishop, without a took. So my opponent is way, way, way up in material. Usually, what he's supposed to do here is to look for ways to exchange pieces. He's supposed to look for ways to exchange all the pieces because he already has an advantage. That's the only way you can actually get your advantage. You can land it home and get a win. That is the only way. So when you have an advantage, look for ways to exchange pieces. Simplify, exchange materials, exchange pieces, and take the game to the end game. Because at the end game, because you have your up material, you always have the advantage to win. Your opponents will only be fighting for a draw while you are fighting for a win. So he made a pawn move, um, f6. I kept on playing. I captured, and he captured back with the knight. I kept on playing. I had to engage my queen. He defended really well. I had to take my queen back while maintaining that diagonal because if you watch very well, my bishop is applying pressure on the knight and my queen is also there, knowing fully well that if the knight moves to anywhere the knight moves to, my queen is going there to land the checkmate. And my opponent was supposed to like be very, very cautious of where my the fact that my queen has X-ray vision and could see all through the dark square diagonal down to his king. Anyway, he tried to block it with a pawn move. I continued with a check. Always give a check, guys. A check is always important. Well, he blocked. I had to do what they call danger levels. So if an opponent is attacking a piece of yours, you try to simultaneously attack a piece that is even more valuable than the one that is being attacked, or a similar piece in the same value range, instead of just defending and playing passively. So I decided to take a pawn while attacking and putting his queen under threat, knowing fully well he can't capture my bishop because his queen is under threat and he has to move. My opponent played by trying to safeguard his queen. I kept on playing, so I brought back my bishop to safeguard it. Yeah, my opponent pinned my knight to my king, and then I had to defend the knight with a pawn. My opponent played the pawn move, which is he played the knight move, knight to c6. I responded with castling. This was actually a really good move from my opponent, blocking the vision of the queen. D4. Now I had to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice my knight. So knight captured the pawn on g6. He captured back. Captured knight. I had to take back with my bishop while attacking his rook. So he took his rook to safety, which is rook to f8. I played a4, just a random pawn move, trying to wait. It's more like a waiting move. So he took his knight down. I think from here, this was where my opponent really started making wrong moves, because I do not exactly know what this knight move does. It's more like a wrong move. I don't know his plan. But then I take my bishop back so I can maintain that diagonal pressure. So you see the queen is on the dark square diagonal, my bishop is on the light square diagonal, my other bishop is here protecting this pawn. So there are always threats here, because I can push the pawn up and give a check, and the game will go on. But the pawn on the h file is a big threat. It's always a big threat. So my opponent played a knight move. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish with this move. But then I did a rook lift, knowing fully well that this knight move is a very wrong move, because if I'm to capture with my rook, he won't be able to capture back, because the dark square, the diagonal is open for the queen, and that's just checkmate because of the pawn there. My opponent still went ahead and made this wrong move, and then he came down to attack the rook, which is very unnecessary. I don't know why he did that, but this was ultimately the move that gave me the win, because I was going to win a piece back, knowing fully well that he can't capture back with the pawn, because if he captures with the pawn, it's going to be a checkmate. So I captured the knight, expecting that the game was going to go on without him trying to capture with the pawn, but I don't understand why he did that. I guess a lot of people really forget, because the queen has been silent for long in the side of the board. I guess he forgot. So this was a mistake ultimately that gave me the chance to land a beautiful checkmate. So that's how you calculate, that's how you analyze games. You check what moves your opponent could make that will hurt you, and what moves you could make that will hurt your opponent. You have to, while you're analyzing your own game, you have to analyze your opponent's move also. That's how to analyze chess and play chess and try to play better chess. So guys, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.